lot more new gardeners in the last year. And it's just fun to see people get excited about gardening. I'm excited about gardening, and it's fun to share that excitement. Right now, if you're thinking of decorating pots next to your house, from your annual pots to your fall pots by adding mums or grasses or the flowering kale, and they last through frosts. So they can handle frost. They can even go down to as low as about 28 degrees. Kale longer than that. So if you want something to go all the way to Thanksgiving in our climate, kale and grasses will take you there. Mums can also, if we don't have too many cold nights, but if we have too many nights below 28 degrees, they'll freeze and the flower heads will go. If we're going to have really cold nights, you know, pop them in the garage or bring them inside the house and then stick them out during the day. What you would do if you wanted to top dress your beds, you could top dress your beds with like a composted manure or some kind of compost. Put that over maybe just an inch or so, a couple inches across the top of the bed. If you're going to mulch with, some people use leaves, some people use cover hay, whatever you're going to mulch your perennial or shrub bed with, know that you shouldn't be mulching until the ground is frozen. If you mulch before the ground is frozen, you're more apt to have disease in your plants. I love kale. There are so many different kinds of kale, and there's deep reds, there's whites, and like I said, they last a long time. But you can't go wrong with the pop of a mum for color. These are different types of kale. This one grows really tall and it's used for cutting in bouquets, but I like it in containers, and you can mix it with another kale. This one just grows really curly leaves. This one, the inside is going to get even brighter and bigger around like so. This is a plant that my sister repurposed. This has a trailing vine in it, and it's actually a perennial vine. So when the season is done, you could pop that into the ground. It's a vinca. It grows out low as a ground cover. This is actually an herb. It's not perennial in Minnesota, but it can take frost. So that's a nice, it's a sage. And there's sage and parsley, rosemary, and thyme are all herbs that are cold tolerant and frost tolerant, that are good in combinations with mums to get you a variety of color in your pot. But it is fall, and we're coming close to winter, and it's not too late to plant perennials in your garden. So I have a hosta here, I have a burning bush, and I have a daylily. So these are still looking really nice because we have not had a frost. Some years by now we've already had a frost and they've been cut back. If I were going to be planting this now, you take them out of the pot, and if we look at this pot, and you can see the nice white roots, but they're starting to grow in a circle. So I would cut the root, and one of the things when you're working with perennials, they could have a disease on them or a bacteria that could transfer from one plant to the other, so I like to bleach my scissors between. But I would cut the root, of this, score it a little bit, and then dig my hole and plant this in the ground, and I would plant it just a little bit deeper than it is. And because it is fall, and before you know it, we're going to be covering our garden, I would just cut it back and get it ready for winter. So that's what I would do with this. Is a daylily, I would do that. But then you also have to, when you're planting perennials, even though they're not, those roots were still growing, and this root ball is where they're getting their moisture. So you can't just put it in the ground and think you have to keep watering it like every other day until the ground is frozen solid, because that root ball still needs water. Same with the hosta. We would take it out and score the roots like I did, bleach the scissors between. Whenever I'm working with the hostas in my flower bed, I bleach the scissors between each hosta because hostas have disease that can transfer from one plant to another. And we just beat on the side of the pot, and there we go. See how nice white roots, and that's what you're looking for when you get a plant. But this one, if I were planting it again, I would score the roots, go around, and sometimes I even cut down the side of the pot. And what that does is forces the roots to go out instead of continually to grow in a circle. And the same thing with the hosta, because it's the time of year it is, I would take and cut it all the way back. And again, you're going to water it maybe every other day or every third day. If it's warm, you're going to water more often. If it's cool or it's raining, you don't have to. So these are perennials shrubs. It's the same thing. This one's roots are not so root bound, but I would still work them up just a little bit. Plant them the same depth they are, maybe just a little bit deeper. And it's not too late to plant perennials or shrub buds. I have a shrub bed on the other side in my yard that about 5 years ago we shoveled snow, dug the holes, and planted them. Hydrangeas, a willow plant, 9 barks, and now they're huge and bigger than but we planted them. It was the last possible day we could have planted that year. It was in November. We shoveled snow and planted that shrub bed. The only thing is, if you are planting evergreens this time of year, really important to water them good, but take burlap and wrap their greenery, because evergreens, because their leaves don't fall off, their needles don't fall off, they need to be kept protected from the wind and the winter sun. If you're going to plant this fall, make sure you continue to water until the ground is frozen. That's the most important thing to remember. We are open until October 31st. That's our last day. We're open 6 days a week from 10 until 6 p.m.